Hi, welcome to Box on the Box Rock and Celluloid, Botbrack for short. I'm Edward Box, so I'm doing a little review of my films I watched in 2022. I'll try and skate through them all really quickly. I can tell you I went to see 20 films at the Pictures, the flicks as we call them. I used to go to the cinema, sometimes 40 times a year, an average almost once a week. It's less now, principally sort of cost, time, and let's face it, a lot of multiplexes are just full of, as soon as a Marvel film comes out, something like Avatar, where the water, all the screens are just full of that. Unless you can get to your smaller cinema, you're not going to catch other things, and then obviously a lot of stuff's going straight to streaming. But so early on in the year, basically these were films that were released last year but came out this year in the UK. Well, the first film I actually saw was Nightmare Alley, Guillermo del Toro's film noir, neo-noir, with Bradley Cooper, Kate Blanchett. Apart from being too long, I actually really enjoyed this. It's really dark. I love the ending, the way it stuck to its guns there. Great cinematography, great production design. A bit too long, a little fuzzy in places. I give it a 7 out of 10. But it's worth checking out. Then a film that was Oscar bait for the Foreign Language Film Oscar. Everyone was raving about it. We went to see it, me and my other half, and it was just fucking deathly dull. Sorry, drive my car. A lot of the reviews were like, this is going to change your life. It's a great meditation or whatever. I'm just ticking off what I'm talking about here. But I just, there was a load of shit. Not shit, it's just not my thing. Then The Godfathers 1 and 2 got re-released. Godfather 1 because of the 50th anniversary, and that amazing. Still amazing to see them again. I think I've seen them actually on the big screen about the third time of various reissues, but these were 4K prints. I mean, The Godfather was one of the most perfect films ever made. Just every scene you could lift out and you know where you were. It's one of those films, there's very few, where every scene's kind of essential, every scene's classic, you almost play it in your head. Godfather 2, it is sprawling. It does have a few narrative issues, but when it's great, it's great. A lot of people think it's better. I think The Godfather works more perfectly as a story. The Godfather 2, there's some bits in it that is good and better than Godfather 1. But, The Godfather 1 you can just sit and watch, and it's self-contained. But they're just masterpieces. I don't think we'll see the like again. I do think The Godfather is the greatest American film ever made. And the sound pole, that can fuck off. The Thing, I caught that on this 40th anniversary in Halloween. Brilliant. Saw that in a 4K print. It was really interesting seeing the how the technology had sort of brought out the colours. The icky green and the reds were kind of a little bolder, but there's still the iciness and the cold blues of the colour palette of the photography was still as they were. It's still a classic. Still ambiguous. Still got the best practical effects, and still funny in places. Great thing on this as well was the Morricone score as well. How it brought that out as well, and obviously the bits John Carpenter did. So this is just really random order I'm going for. I just kind of wrote these down. Early in the year, at some point was we saw The Lost City, the Sandra Bullock rom-com with Channing Tatum, which is actually pretty good fun, kind of 6 out of 10. Really funny Brad Pitt cameo. I like Channing Tatum when he does comedy. I like Sandra Bullock, she's still a star. So also saw the Channing Tatum film Dog, which was okay. He's weird Channing Tatum, he could have been a bit of a chub, but he's quite an interesting screen presence, and it was kind of good to see him back. The other film I saw actually before going on holiday, which was hotly tipped, and I do like it, is The Northman. I strongly recommend you check out this film. It wasn't as great as something like The Witch. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. Whether Robert Eggers will be given $90 million again, I don't know, because some of it was fucking bad. The ending was fucking batshit mental. Spoiler alert. So, no, I won't do it, actually. That's not fair. But, the ending's mental. For a $90 million film, a really good cast, some really good performances, great photography. There's a great long take in it where there's an attack on a village. But apparently it didn't do that well at the box office. It was still in COVID times, but it did very well on pay-per-view, video on demand. So hopefully, that will have sorted it so Eggers, can get a bit more money and do these things. It's very difficult to say $90 million is a mid-budget film. Well, it is kind of, with blockbusters costing 200 million routinely, or 150 million. There was the case of Babylon and Amsterdam were both $80 million budgets. Amsterdam flopped, Babylon's a flop. These aren't big budget films. The mid budget is kind of 50, 60 million, so they're just past that. If these films aren't successful from these kind of directors, they'll just end up on streaming. The next Fincher film's going to streaming. It's like, yeah, he's just in with Netflix. Then I saw, we'll come to this one at the end, a film called The Innocents, which was, I think it was Danish. Kids on housing a kind of estate, nice kind of flats in Copenhagen, I think. They have psychic powers, and the adults are completely oblivious, and one of them goes rogue, a bit like kind of Brightburn. It was like a weird version of that film Brightburn, where the telekinetic, the superhero powers used badly by the child, but the kids didn't fly around or anything, they can just move things. Really good film, really good performances from the child actors, very natural. There's an awful bit of animal death in it, which is fucking distressing, but worth checking out. Don't confuse it with the brilliant Deborah Carr film, The Innocents. Next up, we go to these things, don't we? Jurassic Park 6, Dominion, what a load of fucking shit. The weird franchise of Jurassic Park films. The first film has got great set pieces, great technology. It's got heart. I don't think it's a classic film, because it's I just don't think the characters and storytelling is as good as something like Jaws or Close Encounters. Loved it at the pictures the first time I saw it. The second time I was like, okay, but Jurassic Park, it's a key blockbuster of my generation. Lost World, fucking load of shit with two great set pieces. Jurassic Park 3, well, it isn't now Spielberg. I really like Jurassic World. Controversial, I actually prefer it to Jurassic Park, because they actually go to a working theme park with dinosaurs in it. So then that did really well, kind of shocked people how well it did. But I do enjoy that film. Then we got Jurassic World Fallen King, which is pretty stupid. Again, it was better than the other Jurassic Park sequels of the Spielberg era. But this one, just trying to bring in the whole crew. Let's face it, no one ever really gave a shit about the Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard characters. I mean, Chris Pratt was okay in the first one, but that just kind of got tanked really by the second. And then you bring back Ian Malcolm, Laura Dern, Sam Neill, and replay scenes, but they just weren't given any space. It was just really contrived, a really contrived legacy sequel. It still made $1 billion, but I think what's telling is, it made less. It's like the Star Wars films. Force Awakens made fucking loads of money. The next one, Last Jedi, didn't make as much, and the third one made least money. And typically when you do trilogies, it's often the second one that takes a dip and the third one gets a bump, because people want to find out how the story ends. But it just wasn't the case with this. Next film I saw was The Black Phone. I felt this was decent. Good performances. Ethan Hawke was good. I like the 1970s milieu. Full credit to Scott Derrickson for going, actually, I don't want to make that Marvel film sequel. I'll go and do my own thing. I actually think he's quite a decent filmmaker. But it could have been better. It was missing some. It was kind of a 6 or 7 out of 10. But it was interesting. It was quite a big hit. Then we saw The Railway Children return. Oh dear. I love The Railway Children original. This was more like a film set by a railway without railway children, with some, with Jenny Addington. There was no reference. There's a vague reference to Bernard Cribbins. They should have somehow got a cameo in before his death. It could have been okay, this, but it was just very dated. And it's just kind of like, why did you do that? So it'll just get forgotten about. Where the Crawdads Sing. This was a kind of sleeper hit. I think women really were drawn to this. I went to see this with my wife. I was like, yeah, whatever. But my wife loved it. I thought Daisy... I've forgotten her second name. Christ. She's in Fresh and she's in War of the Worlds and Ordinary People anyway. not Daisy Ridley from Star Wars. She was good. Yeah, I can see why people would like this. People enjoyed the book. Kind of sleeper, minor sleeper hit. Not my bag, but anyway. Bullet Train was next, Brad Pitt. This was kind of fun, 6 out of 10. I enjoyed Aaron Taylor Johnson's performance. Brad Pitt was good fun. I probably wouldn't watch it again. A bit too much CGI, but daft fun. Near to, I'll not go there yet because that's near Christmas, but another film was Ticket to Paradise, which is a rom-com. Obviously different from The Lost City. I actually enjoyed this. It was great to see George Clooney back on screen, just being charming, being my generation's Cary Grant, I suppose. Julia Roberts, she's a massive superstar back in the day for a reason, and her and George Clooney had great chemistry. It had pretty images. The direction by Ol Parker was decent. He's actually quite a good filmmaker. He did a better job of moving the camera more on the Mamma Mia sequel. It was decent. And the young actress who's I forget her name. She's in Booksmart. She was really good as the daughter. It gave a lot of space to her character. The male lead, her love interest, was good. There's a time and a place for fluff, for good rom-com, and good adult films, and these are just so few and far between. There was only 2 star-driven rom-coms last year that went to the multiplex. Really, was The Lost City, rom-com adventure, and was Ticket to Paradise. They both did well because they're likeable stars and they were pretty decent. It's amazing you'd get me saying big enough a rom-com, but yeah, it was good fun. Elvis, this was really good. This is one of the films of the year, really. I think people saw the trailer, this looks really good, but I think people were surprised. I think the core thing with this film is people who don't like Elvis Presley are raving about it. You don't need to like Elvis Presley, know about Elvis Presley to enjoy this film. Baz Luhrmann had his usual Baz Luhrmann, but he toned them down, and the kind of glitz and his Las Vegas showiness of his direction worked with the Elvis story. I thought Austin Butler was excellent. The rest of the cast were very good. I mean, Tom Hanks, I thought his performance was good, but the problem is the accent. If you actually watch Colonel Tom being interviewed, there's this slight European, he's disguised European, he's disguised his European background with a drawl, and then Tom Hanks seemed to bring that out more. A quirky, odd performance. But I think the key thing in the film was it reminded you why Elvis had so much impact. Why he was an icon, why he was the first star of rock and roll, why we owe him, if you play music, if you listen to music, we all owe Elvis a debt. And this film reminded us of that. So, good stuff. I saw The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. It was good to see Nicolas Cage not straight to streaming, DVD, Blu-ray, whatever it is, and see him in the cinema. I don't think the film was totally what it should have been. It was supposed to, it wasn't like something like Being John Malkovich, which is probably the best film where you use a star actually as themselves and you create this crazy meta thing on celebrity. But it was good fun, 6 out of 10. I like Pedro Pascal. If Nicolas Cage wasn't playing himself, this wouldn't have gone to the cinema. Maybe Reinfeld will get to the cinema when it comes out. So near Christmas, I saw Avatar: Way of the Water. I was never massive on Avatar. It was only 6 out of 10. I thought the 3D was cool. It had great action climax. But it was just, at the end of the day, it just looks too artificial to me. It looks like some amazing cartoon. And I felt the same with Avatar: Way of the Water. I mean, underwater sequences and the development of the world is great. I got to admit, when it was going to come out, I thought, as you left this too late, you've got to hand it to James Cameron. He just, the film's already made $2 billion. It's not going to do as well as Avatar. I mean, if you released Avatar now, it would gross closer to $4 billion. But, it's money in the bank. Weird Sam Worthington, I mean, his career's tanked, but there he is back in like the other biggest, one of the other biggest films ever. But it had great action at the end. I found some of the characters cheesy, but it's weird. He actually started riffing on himself, Cameron. He kind of went a bit Titanic at the end, and some interesting stuff. The tech, the R&D, what he's had to create to do this. But there's still that thing. I'm still looking at this weird CGI creation. But that's, people love it. We went to see it, and I'll go and see the next one because I'm always interested. Violent Night was another Christmas film we saw. This was a lot of fun. David Harbour, good cast. Good to see Beverly D'Angelo. John Leguizamo was great. This is funny. It's a really funny Christmas film. It's basically like Home and Alone meets Bad Santa. It was good. It should have been bigger, really, but I think it might become one of those alternative Christmas films. The other film I saw, no, that's it. That's the 20, I think. Oh no, I've forgotten the most important film. My film of the year. I saw the pictures, which was Maverick. I've already talked about this quite a bit in reviews and stuff. I think this is great entertainment, perfect legacy filmmaking. I loved it. I loved the acting, loved the story, loved the action. Really good. So on to streaming. So recently, I'll just tick it off. A film I actually caught that came out last year was Crimes of the Future, the David Cronenberg film. Weird, kind of got a bit of existence with the weird machine. Obviously, a bit of Videodrome with, this has got organs being created or put in. So kind of going into the body. A little bit of Naked Lunch, style imagery. I couldn't say I liked it, but it's just fucking weird. And fair play to him. It was weird how many funders it had. Pardon me. I was looking at the credits at the start, and he'd pulled in funding from so many areas, and I think, sorry, hiccups. You're going to see more of that. Filmmakers like Cronenberg, if they want to make their thing and do their thing, they're going to be pulling in resources wherever they can. It's worth checking out the interest of Cronenberg. All Quiet on the Western Front, again, I spoke about this in my BAFTAs thing. I thought this was really good. This was a treat, to get a film of this quality on Netflix with great photography, great story, very, very good film. This will get awards recognition, nominations, and rightly so. It's a really good anti-war film. It's the best World War I film since Paths of Glory to me. I saw The Good Nurse on streaming as well. Netflix was just pretty decent. Good drama, quite chilling. Good acting by Eddie Redmayne and Jessica Chastain. Not great, but a good 7 out of 10. Worth checking out. Scream, I caught the new reboot of Scream. It was alright. I actually preferred Scream 4. Is this Scream 6 we're on? We had Scream 1, 2 and 3. 3 was shit. Then there was a break, and then I watched 4, did I? I can't remember when that came. I actually quite enjoyed that. Is this Scream 5? Anyway, it was alright. Death on the Nile, it was alright. I wasn't massive on the Murder on the Orient Express. Felt the same about this, 2 CGI, but a really good kind of credit sequence set. It's worth seeing. I'll say that it shows you why Poirot has his tash. Really good, it's set in the past, really great de-aging on Kenneth Branagh. That was interesting, that bit. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the reboot, fucking stupid. Bringing in characters from the, some funny deaths, but shit. A lot of people raved about the Batman. I'm not a massive Batman fan. Far too long, but it was interesting what they did with it. I'm not sure of Patterson. I don't know if I need, the lead singer of My Chemical Romance lookalike as Batman. Really good cinematography. If you get a chance, check out the deleted scene of Barry Keoghan's Joker. Really good. Obviously, if they're bringing the Joker in, this will be, the next great Joker, I think. The Adam Project on Netflix went straight to Netflix, kind of 80s kind of thing, kind of like The Last Starfighter or Explorers kind of vibe, although they, different. But I quite enjoyed this. It had Mark Ruffalo, Ryan Reynolds, obviously, young kid. His dad goes back in time and his season meets himself as a young lad. I enjoyed it. It was good fun. Quite a lot of heart. It was good to see Mark Ruffalo in it. Quite a good, ending. Quite moving. Decent. This would have been a good film with the pictures. Solid 7 out of 10. Ambulance, yeah, a load of shit. Michael Bay, just fucking bollocks. His films worth seeing for the drone shots. He had like the world's fastest drone operator. It has shots that make no sense. The drone's like starts off at the top of a building and then pans down and flies through stuff and then ends up on the scene. It's just ridiculous. It's completely overshot. I mean, all Michael Bay films are overshot, but this, now they've got drones, you can overshoot more. That's something you've probably noticed in TV and film is the drone shot. There's always a great overhead shot in every film you've seen over a drone, but the problem is they can't help themselves. They have to use it again, and maybe 3 times, and then it's like you've got to shoot your drone shots you want, and then pick the best one, and don't do any more. Spiderhead, what a pile of shit. So this is quite interesting because this was the director of Top Gun Maverick. He was a good job. He did Top Gun Maverick, Joseph Kosinski. This was a crap film with Miles Teller. Again, good for him. He was in Maverick. And Chris Hemsworth. Yeah, Chris Hemsworth's like, he's the kiss of death if he's not in 4, isn't he? I mean, Extraction's all right, but every film he's in is fucking shit. Not that I'm massively into 4, but this was crap anyway. The Grey Man, this, $200 million budget. Ryan Gosling, back after 4 years, because we missed him. We missed his charisma. He is Steve McQueen. This film, some cool action, but again, CGI action, not physical action. The Russo brothers, I don't really rate them. But this film, as someone pointed out, a film can only be an event if it goes to the cinema. The reason why Avatar has done so well, it's the sequel to the biggest film ever. But it's gone to the cinema and it's kind of exclusive. And The Grey Man, you've got... Right, it's almost like when things go to streaming, the streamers pay all this money. The film's #1 in the streaming charts for a few weeks. But it's like, how well would this film do if it got to the pictures? You've got Chris Evans and Ryan Reynolds and Ryan Gosling. Neither of them are box office. Neither of them are like Tom Cruise or Leonardo DiCaprio. They can't open films. I actually enjoyed Chris Evans' performance in this. It was a 6 out of 10, this film, but it was forgettable. But $200 million, to promote it, you'd spend another $100 million. So you'd spend $300 million, so you'd have to gross $600 million before you broke even. And then you'd make your profit from, other ancillaries. But would this film make $600 million on streaming? Does it get enough subscribers in? I don't know. I don't know how Netflix works, but I think they need to look, Netflix should find its niche, to me, back in these mid-budget types of films and getting them out of the cinema a bit. Another film I saw on Metal Lords, that was good fun. I enjoyed it. I'm a massive metal fan. It was good fun. Really funny cameos. I kind of related to the kids. It was... the people who did the film had done their research on metal as well. It wasn't like, in those films where, they're rocking out and it's like the miming's bad and that. They'd done the metal research. This was a good film. 8 out of 10. I really enjoyed this. Downton Abbey, A New Era. Perfectly entertaining. This went to cinema. I caught on streaming. I actually quite liked the Downton film, the first one. This kind of got them over to France. It had quite a good plot, and then there was a film being made at Downton, and it did what it said on the tin. I liked it. Hustle. Now, this is a film that seems to have kind of fallen by the wayside. I don't see any kind of awards recognition. This was really good. Adam Sandler was in this. I also watched a lot came out Prada Uncut Gems, which he played the most annoying character, and I couldn't say I liked the film, but he was great in it. It takes a lot for an actor to play a character who's unlikable. So respect the Sandler. But this was really good, this Hustle. It was a basketball film. The guy playing basketball player was great. Sandler was great. They had real players in. All the basketball scenes were really good. This was one of the best sports movies. If you're picking like your top sports movies, this would be in this. It was very good. Kept you interested. Had heart. It was good. And Sandler was excellent. Excellent performance. Easy good to say 8 out of 10. Check it out on Netflix. Prey. I caught this on Disney. It was from Hulu recently. I thought this was, okay. I still prefer Predator 2 because it's cheesy and it's more an action thing. But it was better than Predators. That I actually think's pretty good. I quite like Alien vs Predator, Resurrection shit. The Predator was utter shit. So that's where I contextualise Prey. I give it 7 out of 10. I thought the young girl was really good. It was really interesting setting it back in those times. I think it would have been even better if the cinematography was more period sort of hues. and it didn't have them, had the Native American people using, it had subtitles. It would have been bolder, it probably would have been as popular, but sod it, that would have really kind of put this on another interest level. But it's worth checking out. Pinocchio, Del Toro's Pinocchio, didn't like it because I like the Pinocchio story, but it will win the animation best Oscar. It's beautifully animated, labour of love, just not my cup of tea. Uncharted, that was shite. Blacklight, Liam Neeson, that was shite. I'm having to rush now because I'm waffled. The Menu, excellent, really good fun. Taking the piss out of the 1%. Anya Taylor-Joy, excellent as always. Nicholas Hoult, very good. Ray Fiennes, brilliant. Well worth checking out. Triangle of Sadness, I caught this. Middle part on the boat's hilarious. The two bits either side, maybe not as good, but it is worth seeing. They are funny as films. Ruben Östlund, is it? Yeah, he did the Square and Force Majeure. Tar, just too dry. Brilliant acting. Great sort of detail in what a conductor does. Great detail in the kind of communication of the music, detail, manuscript, stuff like that. A film I started watching, but something went wrong, so I have to get back to it. It's The Fabelmans, so I can't comment on that. I saw Enola Holmes 2. I really enjoyed that. We'd watched Enola Holmes 1. Again, great that they go to streaming, but I honestly think these would do very well if they went to cinema. I think Millie Bobby Brown's a little star. She's great. Sorry, that sounds really patronising, little star, sorry. And I think these are fun films. I enjoy them. I like Henry Cavill, I like her. I think they're great for young people, but they're great for kind of family films. Really good. Slumberland, another one, Netflix. You know, this was a $150 million film with Jason Momoa. It had massive effects. It went straight to Netflix. It came and went. I mean, why Netflix spend this kind of money? I mean, this film was all right. It was kind of a bit of a beautiful mess. I just, I understand who it's aimed at, but it's like, you can make 3, 4, 5 other films that are interesting. It's just kind of weird competing with Disney. It kind of reminded me of things like Lemony Snicket's and stuff like that. There's films they hope will be a franchise, but just don't quite work. Glass Onion, again, another, they bought the right Knives Out, went to the cinema, it did really well at the cinema. Why have they sold it to Netflix? And the Glass Onion was good, as well received. There's $300 million, $350 million waiting in box office for you, but now they've sold it to Netflix for, I can't remember what the price is, but it's big money. But it's probably popular on streaming. I liked it more on Knives Out in some ways, but not in others. But they're good fun, those films. The Swimmers, there's a bit of criticism about this recently. I did like it. It was about the 2 girls who were swimmers from Syria, and they move to Germany, and they train and end up going to the Olympics as a kind of refugee team. It's a good story. White Noise, again. This film costs $100 million. There's big traffic jams, there's big food supermarket sequences, there's some effects. I couldn't work out how it cost $100 million. I didn't realise this was based on a Dom DeLeo novel. Apparently it's impossible to film. And yeah, it's a shit film. You shouldn't have tried to do it. It was, there's a really funny scene where they're debating Hitler and Elvis, which I really liked. But I tried this, but I've got to admit, I kind of just flicked forward towards the end eventually. So the best film I saw on streaming, went to the pictures, we didn't get around to seeing it. I saw it on Disney, which was The Banshees of Inisherin. So, this is an award-worthy film. It will win awards. It's beautifully shot. It's beautifully acted. It's just very Irish. It's got that quirkiness, but it's got that pathos. It's hard to describe. It's just one of those films you're going to watch and hopefully love. That's it. I've been through all those, so it's about 27 now. I've watched other films this year, and there'll be ones I've forgotten, but that was my review. So, Maverick, best film at the pictures, streaming, Banshees of Inisherin. Remember to share and subscribe, and hopefully see you again soon. Thanks very much.